what is Crohn's disease? My whole body moved into a state of shock and like complete fear. I didn't know what to do or where to go at that moment.
All right, Ariel, thank you so much for joining me today to discuss your journey. You're a long, twisted, turning journey of very unique. So everyone listening to Ariel today, we have a unique story. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And first off, can you tell everyone a little bit about what you were diagnosed with, how long ago, what that was like to be diagnosed? I know it was the doctors weren't certain on that, but can you tell us what that experience was like?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. When I came out of the procedure, actually, I was still under the anesthesia, right? And I look up at the doctor and she stares at me and she says, "You have Crohn's disease and you need to take these meds and you're going to have this for the rest of your life." And I just looked at her under the anesthesia and I was like, what is Crohn's disease? My whole body moved into a state of shock and like complete fear. I didn't know what to do or where to go at that moment. And then, yeah, then it got a little confusing later on because a few months down the road, I moved back to Toronto and I got another colonoscopy done from a different doctor. And then he was like, we don't see the same inflammation that you saw over there. And because I showed him the photos, and I was like, hey, look, you don't see this inflammation. You're not going to tell me I have Crohn's disease. He's like, no, I don't see that amount of inflammation right now. And I was like, all right, great. So
But
then it was
Ariel,
kind of like indeterminate.
so the second doctor goes, I'm not sure if it's Crohn's. The first was like, you have Crohn's. And we, oddly enough, the inflammation had looked different. So maybe infections. And I know you had potentially found certain infections that you thought might be around it. Blastocystis parasite, H. pylori, maybe some candida. And so when you started talking to us, you were saying, hey, I think I found these root issues, uncertain. But I think one of the big parts and points to your diagnosis is the damage had been done around trauma. Like at that moment, you wake up and someone says, you have this disease for the rest of your life. You have to take these drugs or it might, what, kill me, make me
I
handicapped?
literally told people, I have this Crohn's disease. I might die. That's what I was telling people. I had no idea.
Here you are. They didn't even explain it to you, came in, hit you. The doctor hit you in the head with that type of energetic blast of intensity. And then boom, do you think that's when all of a sudden it wasn't just the problem in the gut, it was the traumatic response of being diagnosed with this and the manner in which you were diagnosed that you think really set you off a course of emotional pain and suffering?
Yes, I think that that may have activated all of the anxiousness and etc. that I had living inside of me even from before that point. What had brought on all this just craziness in my gut was likely all of that anxiousness and craziness going on in my mind and emotions from the few years leading up to that point.
And
I had
and
a lot
so
of stress going on in my life at that time.
and did you feel after the diagnosis your symptoms got worse?
Yeah.
Interesting. Right after you got the diagnosis, the symptoms got a lot worse than prior where they were minimal symptoms. And then when you came to us about 15, 16 months ago, we were talking beforehand, I mean, you were having, what kind of symptoms were you having? So, this
I
is
was
after
50
that
pounds
diagnosis.
underweight. I was 50 pounds underweight. So I wasn't digesting food.
Wasn't digesting food, serious problem with weight management. You had also pretty extreme bloating, gas, burping, and you were also getting not a ton of bowel movements, but a lot of upper GI reactions, low energy.
Lots of chronic fatigue, lots of anxiety, and I had some panic attacks, sleep issues, tinnitus, hair falling out, blurry vision. I was
Joint
so weak.
pain, brain fog.
Yes. I mean, I was so weak, I could barely even walk to the bathroom to go to the restroom. I could barely go outside some days.
Did you feel like the medications, were you just always resistant to taking them, or do you feel they just weren't effective? What was your experience with that?
I never took any meds because after a few days after I got that first diagnosis, there was this voice that came to me that said, no meds, heal natural. And so that's actually right after that is when I found this first podcast that mentioned listen to your gut and the S.H.I.E.L.D program. And then I looked up Ginny and listened to your gut and it talked about tapping. And I was like, and I had been tapping for some time before that. So I was like, all right, this is a nice synchronistic thing that's just showing me like, I'm going to go this way. This is it.
So you started working with Jeannie, and then when you looked at the S.H.I.E.L.D program, what made you feel like you needed more? that,
I wasn't
doing that?
working with Jeannie. It was just more like it had talked about Jeannie and I just looked her up and then she doesn't work
Uh,
directly with people, but she
uh-huh.
talked about the Shield program and
Uh,
I looked at the Shield, I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need.
Beautiful. So you were looking over, so, exploring some of her blogs, her books, her ideas. You saw some stuff that you agreed with, like emotional freedom technique, guys, which we're going to
Yeah,
put a link below if you want to learn more about emotional freedom technique. But when you came in, you're getting all these symptoms, and it was rough for a while. It wasn't like you came in and you just changed your diet and took a few supplements, and all of a sudden you were rosy cheeks. This was something that it was difficult, it was uncertain, you felt very overwhelmed, you were having, as you said, panic attacks, extreme anxiety, and even to the point where your coach was saying, like, we got to calm down, but you didn't know how. Is that how you would put it?
yeah, I didn't know how to relax at all.
Yeah. And so the trauma of everything going on, and I think something really interesting we can get to in your case is how much do you think the anxiety, the fear, the worry, the panic, looking back hindsight 2020, was connected to all those symptoms?
I think it was just entirely the result of that. And just because it's like that's the kind of person who I was at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
it took going through this whole healing journey to
Yeah.
like see that and recognize that to like finally change it. And only once I shifted that way of living, like not being like a stress ball all
Yeah.
day and feeling like I need to be doing things all day long, every day, and thinking all day, consuming all day, then it's when everything shifted, that the symptoms went away because I didn't have that anymore.
Wow. I mean, guys, if everyone can listen, I know it sounds almost too good to be true, but what Ariel's saying is it wasn't the supplement protocol or a integrative approach or lab tests or huge diet changes that really supported him and the change in that. It was dealing with the extreme amount of anxiety, fear, what we really chalk up to helping to reset the nervous system, to regulate the nervous system, maybe also rebalancing the adrenals, because adrenals can also be a problem when you're under that much anxiety and fear and doubt. And then, for you, you talked about tapping being something really important, emotional freedom technique tapping, which is also for a lot of people, some people also use German new medicine. I've said this before with German new medicine. They've said it with hypnosis. They've said that with eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EMDR. So there are a lot of these different emotional and spiritual and nervous system regulating therapies that people have sworn have helped stop their gut issues. And you're saying, hey, I'm one of them. Like that
100%.
was it for me. Things getting worse and worse and worse, trying different diets, trying different supplements, spending thousands of dollars. And at the end of the day, after probably a year, probably took a year for you to really get this down, would you say?
Yeah, it took me a year and like then getting into deeply all of the emotional processing and tapping. And, I actually used a technique that was really similar called just the rapid relief technique. It was
Uh-huh.
very similar types, kind of like Jenny has laser tapping, that
Yep.
kind of. And so, yeah, tapping for the emotional processing and also just like sitting in stillness and just meditating in that way too, so that I can learn to like just accept everything as it is, as it's flowing through all the thoughts, all the emotions, and know that like I'm still here and okay. And that's, I can detach myself from all of that craziness.
And for everyone listening, I know some of this stuff can sound too good to be true when you talk about emotional healing stopping physical symptoms. But we see it. I personally saw it in my own health. It was a few days after prayer that I even started prayer, and I calmed myself down. I started journaling, I started meditating, I started reading, that I actually started sleeping through the night after about a year straight of having bowel movements through the night, living in a state of fear, anxiety, depression. So I can also attest and relate to what you're saying, Ariel, and everyone listening to your story here. But before we jump into what also really helped you out, what are your symptoms now?
I don't have any gut symptoms at all. Like
Wow.
my gut feels like a little
So
baby.
so 2 to 3 bowel movements a day, no bloating, no
No.
burping, no gas, normal gas if ever, right? We got rid of 90% of the joint pain,
Yeah.
and the brain fog's gone, energy's good. You've gained back how much weight?
I gained back 40 of the 50 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My energy's at medium. It's still working its way up, but no more brain fog.
Wow. I think one of the things I also want to say about your story for everyone listening out there is your courage to keep looking, keep trying, and be coachable. Because sometimes when you're in that amount of anxiety, a coach goes, I can't work with this person because they can't hear how they're self-sabotaging. Reflecting back, do you think you were self-sabotaging your health? And do you think some people listening who are saying, I know I'm an anxious person, I know I get panic attacks, I know I'm overwhelmed, I'm having sleepless nights, I'm battling depression. Do you think there is a level, generically speaking, a level of self-sabotage that we're keeping ourselves in that state, looking back on the last year or 15 months of you really learning all this?
Yeah, there definitely was. And it was because it just kind of like, it needed to take time for me to like make just tiny little changes and see like, whoa, that little change, like just resting a little bit every day, like actually helped even a little bit. Okay, like I need to change something here
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah, there's an imbalance going on, and mostly around the nervous system, which could be affecting, guys, clinically shown, his vagal nerve, could be affecting his adrenal glands, could be affecting his ability to be in the parasympathetic rest and digest. And that could also be increasing bloating, urgency, cramping, even a feeling of pain in your body due to the fear and anxiety and all of those feelings making those symptoms seem more immense. Ariel, I love that. How important was it for you to be involved in the community long term, to have the trainings? I know you mentioned a lot of trainings you were doing with me, a lot of the live trainings where we talked about breath work or white light or changing the mind and deciding to stop acting sick and taking space, like you said, letting go of having it. Tell me a little bit about that and how important that was.
You know, hearing these live trainings around like being that dream person who you want to be, like really becoming that person and live as that person. The trainings were super helpful, and just having the community to be able to come to and to speak to when I have questions. And, you know, as someone who had a lot of anxiety, to kind of feel like I was supported and have somebody to talk to. The trainings were great, especially, you know, you have the tapping trainings. For me, I was just wanting to get involved in tapping too.
And now we have Rachel Turner, our EFT specialist, going live with the community every week, complimentary. So that's really amazing. And I think that also something to be said is when you're not alone and you can ask other people, hey, how are you responding to this? And get a transparent response from other members. Like, how are you responding to meditation? How are you responding to the supplement? How are you responding to the food changes? What's working for you? Like, everyone's there and there's no walls between everyone conversing. So it's real, it's integral conversation. And as someone dealing with anxiety, as you just said, like to have a community of people you can talk to and then connect. And when you're doing the trainings, you're able to ask questions live. I'm calling you out live. I'm calling out Michelle or Susan or Jeff or Kevin live. I think that's really, really important when you can feel alone in this world and there's no one else who's dealing what I'm dealing with. And so I think there was another point that I really wanted to bring up for everyone who believes that there may be a link of anxiety, depression, fear, and worry causing your physical symptoms. And you talked about it a little bit earlier. You talked about this idea that, like, how does sickness serve me? Talk to me about that idea.
I was really asking this question to myself, like, how is this illness still serving me? Why do I still need this illness in my life? The answer would be evolving, but there was always a reason coming up. It was like, well, I need this because I'm too scared to like go out and like become financially independent and on my own, you know, so I want to stay sick, or like because I don't feel like I can go out and do regular life again if I'm still binge eating all day every day, you know. Whatever the reason is, I would work through whatever the reason that would come up to that question as an answer. I need this thing, I need this to keep me here.
So do you think one of the keys that has helped you be successful is you actually let go of the idea of being a sick person?
Oh yeah, I really had to let go of I stopped telling people that I was sick, and myself, and I would never say it out loud either. Like I would never like use those words anymore. It was like, I'm getting better. Like I'm becoming an expert at my health. I'm becoming an expert at my physical energy right now, you know? I'm mastering that right now. I would never say like I'm sick here, you know?
How important has the words you've used, affirmations, been to your success? Because it's crazy. I mean, you had those chronic symptoms for months. You lost 50 pounds of weight. This is real. 50 pounds of weight. You had bloating, cramping, gas. You had brain fog, arthritic pains. And we're saying the predominant thing that really helped you is a nervous system reset, an emotional shift to let go of pain and fear and doubt. Yes, you eat clean. Yes, nutrition matters. Yes, you've used supplements that have helped in certain ways, but they haven't been the main thing that you feel has really helped you along the way. Hard to say when you do everything, but So how important has affirmations and language been to your success, would you say?
Vital. I would speak these affirmations every day just because I needed to help myself learn these new perspectives and like ingrain them into me, like my body is healthy, my body is strong, my body is healing itself, my body is so intelligent and knows how to heal itself. Like all of my cells are working towards optimal health in every moment because I didn't know those as concepts before. I needed to like embody them. So I would even record myself saying those affirmations and put it to the backdrop of my favorite songs instrumentals and just listen to it.
Wow. And a total
I would never speak as like this sick person anymore. There was a certain time where I just like, people would ask me like, oh, like, why do you have that special chair over there or whatever? I'm like, oh, just because, it was a nice thing. Someone offered me this chair. When it's like, yeah, maybe it's because I had some fatigue going on and I needed to take a nap in that chair in that corner, but it's like, I don't need to talk about those things. Like, that's not human being anymore.
I love what you're saying, and the idea that you can't just rely on a diet change or rely on supplements or herbs or medications, but to really, especially if you're someone who's relating with this and saying, I know that I have extreme anxiety, maybe dealing with depression, extreme worry, fear, I'm getting panic attacks. I have to listen 3 hours a day to podcasts to look for that hidden root issue that makes me go crazy with my plan and change my plan every 5 seconds.
And I would think about it all day. What caused this thing? What caused this bloating? What caused this today? What caused this? And I would think about it all day, every day.
It kept you in a sick state, in a fear state. It kept you in a sympathetic state and just adrenaline running through the body. And you reset that in such a massive way. And so I think it's do it all, but recognize the trauma that we keep ourselves in. Stop acting sick, start feeling and experiencing and practicing a sense of peace and health. You have to act healthy before you'll be healthy.
And that's when like all the noise that was coming in all the time and I couldn't hear. So it's like the podcasts and the music and the reading and all the TV. And it was like stopping all that noise and all the consumption. So like you're saying, I can like notice how I'm stuck in these loops of like, what caused this and what caused that and how can I fix this and how can I fix that, and like calm it down so that I can come to a place of centeredness and live without that stress and anxiety all the time. And one thing that I'd really love to like also leave everyone with is like, our bodies are so intelligent, and like if we can give it space to talk to us and we can give the time to sit with our bodies and just listen to what it has to say. And I know like, but what does it mean to listen to our bodies? It's like, just sit and be still with your body. Don't expect anything. Just do it because you love your body. You'll slowly see what it means to listen to your body and to hear what it has to say. And for me, I had this voice at the beginning that said, don't take the meds and heal natural. What that meant for me at the end of the day, I finally understand what that means. And for me, it means just do whatever feels right for me for as long as it feels right for me. And then as soon as it doesn't feel right for me anymore, either stop it or switch it to something else. But that's what it meant, is like, just do what feels right for you. I know that's scary. It's like, but I don't know. It's like, yes, you do. When I stopped the supplements at one point, I stopped supplements, stopped consuming, stopped podcasts. I stopped researching anything, literally not a single thing. Let's see if my symptoms resolve if I only listen to my gut. And I was talking to a health coach, but like, that's it. No more research, no more podcasts. That's it.
Beautiful.
I didn't even listen to your lives anymore, and I was sad to miss them. What, like, my like guilty moments would be like, okay, I'm just gonna listen to like one of Dave's lives, and then I'd be like, no, like that was it. That was like one for the month, like that's it, Just listening to my gut, and it was like just doing what feels good for me.
Beautiful.
For as long as it feels good.
I know Jeannie would be proud of what you're saying right now. Her company's called Listen to Your Gut, and she's very big on EFT tapping, which has been so life-changing for you. Last bit of advice, anything about the S.H.I.E.L.D. program you'd like to recommend or highlight or mention? Anyone out there who's really resonating with you, really feeling you, wants to take action like you're saying? What would be your 2 cents?
Have an opportunity to learn how to create a shield for yourself in life is just, it's like this gift that you get for life. It's a for life gift. I feel so empowered from having like my own personal shield. Like I know what to do when I'm feeling an illness coming on or anything like that, or symptoms coming or whatever. And that I feel so empowered in that way. And everyone can have that. And then the other aspect is like the daily healing journal was like super foundational for me. And I did it for 450 days because I needed to see my symptoms, like how they evolved based on what I was taking, and like do it over time. And but another big aspect is like really reflecting on how I was thinking and how I was feeling every day. It was like the symptoms tracker part, but then also like a little journaling section, morning and night, just for 5 minutes, I would write about it. And that's what helped me make new habits and make the permanent lifestyle changes I needed to make in order to get super healthy again.